The AI economy has changed what's possible for small and medium businesses. Access to tools, knowledge and expertise has never been greater, but access is no longer the advantage. The real difference now is in your capability, your human, leadership, business and digital capabilities, and that's what this podcast is all about. This is Make Time for business owners who want to lead rather than be led. One of the challenges with being a successful business owner is that sooner or later, a lot will rest on you and you'll feel like your business owns you rather than the other way around. Once you've stabilised your sales, the next challenge is finding good people to help you operate the business. Your role then transitions into a manager. And this bit should be easy, shouldn't it? You pass on the tasks that you need doing and they get done. However, often delegation you've been working towards isn't working the way you thought it would. You've done all of the right things, you've built the team, you've written the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, you've moved tasks off your plate, and yet you keep getting pulled back into decisions you thought were now somebody else's. And this isn't your team's fault necessarily, it's because there's a layer underneath delegation that can really only sit with the business owner. Welcome to this episode of Make Time, where I'm going to explain what that layer is and why it exists. And I'll highlight it using an example that usually surfaces the issue faster than anything else in the business. I'm your host, Sam, and I'm passionate about helping you and your business thrive by working smarter, not harder. And thank you for joining me on this episode. Let's start with the most common challenge in this situation. If you've been working on delegating tasks to members of your team or even contractors, you may recognise this. You hire well, you delegate operational work and things start to move. You feel relief. This is it, you think. And then 6 to 12 months in, the relief starts to erode. Whilst the team is definitely busy and the outcomes are somewhat decent, the strategic clarity you thought you'd get back with delegation isn't there. You're still the bottleneck on the decisions that actually matter. So what caused this? Pfeffer and Sutton named the structural reason organisations consistently fail to convert good intentions into reliable action is that knowledge doesn't translate into action without the underlying conditions for action being right. Those conditions are things like clarity of purpose, trust, action discipline, and feedback loops. Those specific conditions aren't really delegatable tasks in essence. They're operating fabric. They're the essence of the business that the business owner has to establish. In his 1991 Harvard Business Review essay, Teaching Smart People How to Learn, Argus adds another layer. He showed that highly competent professionals have built-in defensive reasoning that protects their sense of competence under threat. Senior teams are full of smart, competent people. Their defensive reasoning is real and it kicks in hardest when the issue is strategic ambiguity. You can outsource the work around strategy, but you can't outsource the work of holding the strategy clearly enough that smart teams stop reading ambiguity as space to default to safer choices or make it up themselves. Brinkenhoff's research on training transfer, the 70-30 rule from the success case method, makes the same point from the other direction. He found that only about 30% of training outcomes survive the return to the workplace, and what determines whether they survive is the business owner level conditions around the training, whether the business owner reinforced the new behaviour and designed feedback into the system. Without that, the training is really a sunk cost, which means it can't be recovered. So the challenge isn't that delegation fails, it's that there's a capability layer underneath delegation that you have to have in place for delegation to work effectively. When that layer is solid, the team executes well, decisions cascade cleanly, and you start to experience the relief that comes with having a well-oiled machine. When it's missing, you end up running the business with people in the job you need them to be in, but wondering why everyone keeps escalating decisions to you. There are really 4 things that only a business owner can do. A business owner here in the sense of owner-operator, or whoever is in charge of the business, whoever has stake in the game. The first one is strategic direction. This isn't the strategic plan document. This is basically the lived clarity about what the business is for, who it serves, what it refuses to do, what it stands for, why it exists, essentially. Senior teams can refine this and stress test it, but they can't write it themselves. When you try and delegate this, the team interprets the absence of that ownership as license to create their own version of this relevant to their responsibilities, and they might be responsible for revenue or growth or headcount, and that might not serve the actual purpose of the company. The second is cultural tone. This is how the business feels when decisions are being made under pressure, whether disagreements are safe, whether the truth teller in the room gets rewarded or sidelined. This isn't usually documented in a policy, rather it's modelled in the behaviour of the business owner, and especially on hard days, and then it's watched and copied. You can hire a cultural lead, but you can't outsource the modelling. The third is trust architecture. Who gets authority for what? How decisions are made and by whom? Who owns the call when 2 senior people disagree? The architecture itself can be designed in collaboration. The business owner is the one who has to enforce it consistently across the cases where it's painful. Without consistent enforcement, the architecture is really superficial, surface level. And fourth is AI strategy. This one is the most surfaced in the last 2 years and almost worth a section on its own. AI has done something useful for the conversation about capability of the business leader. It has surfaced the underlying problem faster than any previous wave of business technology. This is because when a business adopts AI, often the team experiments, they might automate, generate more output. The leader supportive of this, the budget approves this, but 6 months down the line, there are 2 things that are simultaneously true. The team is definitely using AI more, but the business isn't strategically clearer than it was before. In some cases, it's materially less clear because outputs are now generated faster than the underlying decisions about what should be generated. This is the value realization gap McKinsey has been documenting in their state of AI work. Most organizations are adopting AI, most are not capturing the value they thought it would deliver, and the gap isn't the tool. AI has made this unavoidable. AI strategy, I think, can't be owned by anyone other than the business owner because it's not about the tool. It's a fundamental shift in how you do business. AI changes the design of work itself. It's not a tool you bolt on to existing workflows. It's a layer that reshapes which humans do which tasks, which decisions get pushed up, and which get pushed down, which capabilities matter and which don't. The decision about how AI integrates with the existing humans and existing systems is a decision about the underlying design of the business. That decision is a business owner level, regardless of how technical the implementation is. You can outsource AI deployment, but you can't outsource AI strategy. The moment you try, what you get is a team adopting tools fast and a business that may lose its shape. That's probably the cleanest current example of the business owner capability layer because the cost of getting it wrong is visible inside 1 or 2 quarters. Slower moving examples like cultural tone or strategic direction take longer to show their consequences. But with AI, it shows them quickly. If you're a business owner watching your AI adoption produce volume without getting the results you wanted, the right move is to take that AI strategy back if you delegated it away. So what doesn't work and why? Delegating the strategy work, not just the execution. If the business owner hands off the figure out the AI strategy or own the culture to a senior hire, the senior hire may be competent and the work might happen, but the decisions don't have the business owner's authorship, their ownership, and the team reads that. Decky and Ryan in 2008 created the self-determination theory, and that's relevant here. The research on autonomy shows that motivation degrades when people are asked to deliver outcomes that they don't have authority to set. Senior teams asked to author business owner level strategy without business owner level authority will burn out, or they'll default to risk-averse interpretations. Strategic direction, cultural tone, trust architecture, these often get described as soft compared to the operational work of delegation. Framing them like that, though, is structurally wrong. They're the hardest working in the business. The leader might get aggressive about delegation. The team will take on more. Output increases, but strategic clarity doesn't. Brinkenhoff's training transfer research shows the pattern from a different angle. New behavior from a smart team only survives when the conditions around it are right. The business owner capability layer is the condition in this circumstance. If you're a coach or a consultant to business leaders, this is probably leverage ground that you can work on and the least clearly framed in any existing coaching literature, which is one of the reasons we created our own coaching training. The conventional delegation conversation focuses on business owners' calendar, the team competence, the system, and SOPs, which are all useful, but none of which touch the most important foundational layer. A more useful conversation with your client would be to understand the strategic clarity they actually hold. What's the cultural tone they model on hard days versus the one they describe in their values document? Where is the trust architecture? Is it just talked about versus is it enforced? And really in the current era specifically, what is your AI strategy and who owns it? And if it's someone else, why? So what should you do next? For a business owner, really the move is to take a read of your capability, that layer in your business. This isn't necessarily about your plan or any other documents, rather the lived reality. Where is it solid? Where has that slipped to a senior hire who's doing their best with a business owner level mandate? Where especially is AI strategy living right now, and is that the right place? For a coach, the move is to use this layer as a frame with your business owner clients. Strategic direction, cultural tone, trust architecture, and AI strategy can be diagnostic prompts you can take into any session. Whether you're a business owner or a coach supporting them, if you want a structured starting point, our small business capability gap diagnostic gives a read on where capability sits and what to focus on next. It's complimentary and it's not a lead generating tool. We do recommend a 25/8 program at the end that matches the requirements, but you would not be spammed with emails. We want to provide something really genuinely useful for business owners to make better decisions about where the next investment of capability actually will compound for them. The work really here isn't more delegation. It is reclaiming the layer underneath. And if we can help, hopefully we can do so. And we'll be working on building capabilities throughout this podcast season. Hopefully you'll join us in the next episode, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of Make Time. Every week this season, we're going deeper on what genuine capability development looks like for small business leaders in the AI economy. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. to help other small business leaders, we'd love for you to leave a review or share this episode with them. And if you haven't done so already and want to know specifically where your capability gaps are, the 25-8 Small Business Capability Gap is our complimentary diagnostic tool. The link is in the show notes. It'll help you decide exactly where to focus so you can work smarter, not harder. And see you on next week's episode of Make Time.